So, I recreated Grand Chase in 16 bits. Why? Grand Chase is an old game, and boy it shows. So, I decided to make it even worse. Here's how I did it. The idea was to make it similar to those old Super Nintendo games, 16-bit colors and so on. But if I were to follow the usual process, I'd have to waste a lifetime drawing the sprites. And as I've said before, I'm not very good with pixel art. So the plan was to make it smart. Drawing every single frame by hand was not an option. I ended up coming up with a pretty simple but effective strategy to solve this pixel art problem. First, I'd record a video of whatever assets I wanted in the game. For example, if I wanted to do Alice's, I would then proceed to record all of her movements and animations in video. I just went on practice mode and got recording. Next, I'd take that video, slow it down to about 10% of the original speed, and then proceed to select a few keyframes for the animation I was planning on making. That is, until I had the whole animation in a few optimally selected frames. Next, I'd take those frames, open them up on Photoshop, and select only the character out of the image, and paste it in a new image with a transparent background. That way, I'd have just the character on the image, as sprites are supposed to be. Now, this is the coolest step. I take those frames and put them through a pixel filter. There is a really nice piece of software called Pixelator that does it really well. And they have a free license for this kind of thing. Not sponsored, but it should be. Anyway, I took some time to tinker with the software and the configurations and ended up choosing my preferred settings for the filtering process. Then, it was really just about repeating these steps for the other frames. Rinse and repeat. For every single frame. Needless to say, it took me a lifetime to get it done. Not to mention the ones where I couldn't get a clear picture. For whatever reason, I ended up repeating this process for many animations several times, until I finally ended up with something acceptable. In most cases, that is. Anyway, as soon as I was done with the assets, I got on with creating a new project on Unity. Then, it was really just about putting it all together with code. Thankfully, my personal project that I'm currently working on, a game called Uragano that you can find in this channel, has a very similar battle system as Grand Chase, and as such, I managed to repurpose that already existing code of Uragano into a somewhat usable version of Grand Chase fairly quickly. Then, with some assets and code implemented, it was time to test it out. And the result was a mess. So many bugs, missing features I failed to even remember, and just outright ugly sprites. So I had to redo almost everything. I started with redoing the sprites in a new, nicer color palette. Now for the bugs, I had to rebuild some of the code from the ground up to make up for my sloppy coding before. Some features were surprisingly tough to implement, like the ability to go up and down platforms, or the attack sequence system in a way that was responsive and quick. After that, with all the assets done and the code in order, it was time to put the stage together. For this project, I decided I'd only do one stage. That is, I don't have an infinite amount of time. I ended up going with Sturgeon's Outer Wall, since it is the first non-small stage, if you can say that. Anyway, I put it together as close to the original as possible, and then... oh shit. I forgot to make the blue guys. Ah, fuck it. They're similar enough to the red ones. Nobody's gonna notice. It was time to test this thing. The first try was a complete shit show, with mobs dying and going down to hell or heaven sometimes. Mobs that just stayed on top of Alice's head for some reason. Everything just going batshit crazy in some packed areas. And the boss just doing, well, this. It was time for some bug fixing again. This fixing session took a lot longer than I thought it would. I fixed one bug just to find another one. After a lot of suffering, finally I seemed to have a working version of my shameless copy of Grand Chase. And the result was mildly adequate, I'd say. Not good, not bad. I got the job done. Yes, still lots of minor bugs, as you can probably see. Not game breaking though. And many rough looking assets as well. And only one skill Ha, too hard to draw the skill effects. Sorry, bruh. Regardless, it was a fun experience. It is nice seeing your creation, mostly stolen, come to life. And for obvious reasons, I won't be making it available for download. That's it for today, guys. If you enjoyed this video or found it interesting, you can subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out a lot. And if you want to see more of this, just subscribe and I'll see you next time. I'll leave you guys with some gameplay.